the very beginning, turned this teaching into a means for their own, as they themselves say, mental perversity. By the way, it must be noted that in the beginning, the Tanguri, and after them Brahmanists, Shuanists, and so on, occupied themselves with this mental perversity there, and now at the present time, those called theosophists and other pseudo-learned occupy themselves with the same thing. Having thus spoken, Beelzebub became silent for a short while, during which it was seen that he concentratedly pondered over something, and afterwards he said, "At this moment, I am considering that it will be very, very useful for your reason if I tell you more about a certain event connected also with the sacrament of the sacred almsnoshino, which concerns that sacred individual, the conception of whom was actualized among your favorites, and who, having become formed, was named Jesus Christ. I will tell you about this important event connected with the actualization among them of this sacred individual, the notion about which the contemporary favorites of yours define by the words, the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Your acquaintance with this fact will be another example for you for enlightening you about the sense and essential significance of the sacred sacrament almsnoshino, and in addition you will also have a clear example of what I've already told you, how, thanks only to the strange inherency in their general psyche called wiseacring, the sense, and even those crumbs collected from bits here and there into one whole, spoken and indicated to them by the genuine sacred individuals intentionally actualized among them from above, were already so distorted by the first generation of the contemporaries of the given sacred individuals, that from all what they call religious teachings, information reached the beings of subsequent generations, suitable perhaps only for the inventing of what are called children's fairy tales. The point is that when this sacred individual, Jesus Christ, was actualized in the planetary body of a terrestrial three-brained being, and when afterwards he had to be separated from his exterior planetary coating, then just this same sacred process, almsnoshino, was also produced on his body Kesdjan by certain terrestrial three-brained beings in order to have the possibility, in view of the violent interruption of his planetary existence, of continuing to communicate with his divine reason, and of obtaining in this way the information about certain cosmic truths and certain instructions for the future which he did not finish giving them. The information concerning this great event was accurately noted by certain participants of the performance of this sacred process, and was intentionally related for a definite purpose to the ordinary beings around them. And so, my boy, in consequence of the fact that that period of time coincided with that particularly sharp functioning, which I already once mentioned, of the strange reason of these three-brained beings pleasing to you, in the sense of the periodic ekbartzebazia, which had long been an inherent need for them to lead into error beings around them similar to themselves, at which period many of them strove to be called learned, of course, of new format, and also on account of the fact that at that time there were many such beings among the mentioned ordinary beings around them. Then they inserted, for transmission to subsequent generations, in most of the notes and expressions of those stories of the witnesses about this sacred process, such absurdities that in addition to this indubitable information that Jesus Christ was crucified on a cross, and that after the crucifixion he was buried. They also proved just as convincingly that after his crucifixion and burial, Jesus Christ was resurrected and continued to exist among them and to teach this and that, and only afterwards did he raise himself with his planetary body to heaven. The result of this kind of, in the objective sense, criminal wiseacring of theirs was that in the beings of subsequent generations, genuine faith in all this divine and uniquely accomplished teaching of salvation of the all-loving Jesus Christ was totally destroyed. These absurdities, which were written down, began gradually to engender in the presences of certain of the beings of subsequent generations the impulse of doubt, not only concerning what I've just said, but also doubt relating in general to all the real information and accurate instructions and explanations of this sacred individual intentionally actualized among them from above. The data, however, for the doubt of these mentioned certain terrestrial three-brained beings of subsequent generations began to be crystallized and became an inalienable part of their common presences, chiefly because even in them, in spite of the process inherent in them of almost automatic existence, yet nevertheless, during a long period of time, many of their centuries, they gradually acquired from this automatic crystallizing data for a more or less correct instinctive sensing of certain cosmic truths, as for instance concerning the indubitable truth that if the process of the sacred Raskowarno occurs to any being, or as they say, if someone dies, and is moreover buried, then this being will never exist again, nor furthermore will he ever speak or teach again. And so those of these unfortunates, in whom in short there still continued to proceed very slightly the functioning of being mentation according to the law of sane logic, and who had not at all accepted such illogical and unusual incoherencies, ultimately lost all faith in any truth whatsoever, really given and explained by this sacred individual, Jesus Christ. And as regards the remaining terrestrial three-brained beings, who, by the way, in general represent in themselves the majority, then they, becoming usually transformed at the corresponding age owing to many causes, but chiefly because already from the earliest years of their existence it became proper to them to occupy themselves with what is called Mordorten, into what are called psychopaths, accept blindly, literally, and word for word, entirely without any being logical mentation, all these fantastic absurdities which reached them, and a kind of special peculiar faith in all this religious teaching becomes automatically formed in them as if it represented in itself the totality of all the truths connected with and related to just this sacred individual, Jesus Christ, who was indeed intentionally actualized among them from above. The information about what is called the Lord's Supper, given in the noted totality, still existing today among your contemporary favorites, representing as it were the real accurate history of this sacred individual, and which is called by them the Holy Writ, was nothing else but a preparation for the great sacrament Almsnoshino on the body Kesdjan of Saint Jesus Christ. It is interesting to notice that even in this totality noted from bits here and there, which your favorites call the Holy Writ, there are many precise words, and even the whole phrases uttered at the Lord's Supper by the Saint Jesus Christ himself, as well as by those directly initiated by him, who in this same Holy Script are called disciples or apostles, and which words and phrases your favorites, particularly the contemporary ones, also understand.